My name is Hunter. I'm a TEFL volunteer with the 5th cohort, so Coast 5.
Hi, I'm Rowan. Wait, should I? I'll do the thing. Rowan's my name and teaching's my game.
Hi, I'm Marisa. I'm a TEFL volunteer and I'm Coast 6.
I'm Alessandra. I am a Coast 6 TEFL volunteer.
I'm Ellie and I am a Coast 6 COD volunteer, so teaching is not my game, unfortunately.
I'm Eli. I'm a Coast 6 TEFL volunteer.
I'm Joan. I'm also a TEFL volunteer and I am Coast 5.
And my name is Dylan. I'm also a TEFL volunteer and also with Coast 5.
Your first question is, what is it like living with a host family?
Right now I'm living with a host family. They're an elderly couple. Honestly, I really enjoy spending time with them. They are very understanding and very kind to me. They kind of dote on me as if I'm their own child. And I really appreciate that. So I'm enjoying my time with my host family. However, there are some problems. You have to communicate across cultures, which sometimes can be tough. But for me, I've been able to keep up a dialogue with them and have a really nice time.
I personally love living with a host family. It was a little difficult at first because there's 11 people that live in my house, and then over the summer in August, which is when we moved to our sites, there was over 20 because there's family visiting from Germany, so it was a lot to handle at first. Nobody spoke English, which is a lot to handle, but I just love them. They're absolutely amazing. I have 4 nieces and nephews, all 3 and under, so there's always somebody to play with, and I've developed such a relationship with my host family that when I was in Germany last week, I actually got to go visit my 2 host sisters and my brother that live in that area and got to spend the night in their house and meeting all my other cousins and seeing everybody, so I love it. They're great.
It is good.
No. Wow, that was convincing.
It is really amazing. I'm in a very small community, just a couple hundred people, and I can tell that it would have been close to impossible for me to do anything resembling integration had I not had a host family that I was living with and who could vouch for me and whose last name I could give when I met other people. So just on that alone, I'm immensely grateful. And then on top of that, I live with a middle-aged couple, and they've been fantastic and are just without a doubt my closest friends here at Kosovo. So they're really good, but we are different in a lot of ways. So it's been a learning experience for both of us, and it's good, but it is challenging, I guess.
I can't answer to everybody's experience because I know people have had really varied experiences, and that depends on whether or not you live in a city or you live in a village or if you're a man or a woman. There's a lot of factors there. I know I've been very lucky and I've had a very kind, very open host family who's very kind of, generous, and they let me spend my time as I want to. It's been a little bit of adjustment because also they don't speak English, so I've had to pick up the language a lot quicker because of that. But I found the homestay experience to be overall good and has really helped with my integration.
Is it a problem for you coming here and being so far from home? Does it affect you in any way?
I will say for myself, I had some experience during my undergraduate degree living abroad, so I'm kind of used to the time change, being far away from my family, having to time out my phone calls and things like that. But there are other aspects of it, like I know I'm not going to be able to go home for holidays like I would have been able to in college, that are hard and to be honest are kind of just now setting in now that I've been here for about 7 months. It's like, oh right, this is a stretch. But I will say that my host family here in Kosovo and my actual family back in America have both been exceptional about just maintaining strong lines of communication with me and making sure I don't get too isolated here.
So right now the holidays just ended, like we just kind of got through the whole Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's season, I guess, and that was really the first time that I felt like homesick at all, I guess. It can be difficult to see your friends and family getting together back home. But at the same time, I was lucky enough to have a really great like support system, not only of other volunteers, but also of locals and HCNs that did a lot of really nice things to help me celebrate the holidays. So I got together for Thanksgiving, for example, me and a bunch of volunteers, and then my site mates, host family all got together and cooked Thanksgiving dinner together, which was like a really unique experience. My counterpart surprised me with a Christmas present, even though he doesn't celebrate. So there are a lot of things that you can do to make Kosovo feel like home.
That's really nice that your counterpart
It was
did
so
that.
cute. I was crying a little bit.
So I have lived away from home since I was 17. And my mom before that was very much like be an independent person. So it hasn't been really hard until you get to the holidays, and then the holidays is when I feel the most homesick. Because they're not celebrated the same here, and you're not with your family and doing like the normal routine, because it is a lot harder to be able to go back. So that part gets kind of difficult, but otherwise it hasn't really been that bad. I mean, it's a normal adjustment.
It's flown by the time. Like, I can't remember being home, which is weird to say.
That's legit though.
Yeah, like you just can't remember that life. It's a different part now, and then you're in Kosovo. I got to see my mom a few weeks ago, and my aunt and my cousin in Austria, so I've seen family, really easy to FaceTime family, miss my dogs.
That's the big part. The animals. You'll miss them.
I miss my dogs.
I've definitely gotten homesick quite a bit. My parents both like lost our dog, not like he went missing, but he passed away, and then we adopted a new dog, so that was like a fun transition to go through here. And also just like seeing my friends kind of continue the same things that we used to do back home, and not being able to be a part of that was definitely hard, but they definitely made sure to like keep me involved and like let me know what's going on at home. They actually printed out a picture of me and took me out to breakfast with them, so just like having that support back home, and then also like the support of the volunteers around here definitely helped make Kosovo feel like it was more of my home. And I've definitely gotten used to the different transitions from like time zones and things like that, so kind of have those set scheduled days of like, this is when I'm gonna call mom, and you know, all those different things. Was it hard for you to find a work-life balance? Like, did you find time to continue hobbies?
It was a little difficult at first because I had a lot of extra free time I didn't anticipate. As a TEFL volunteer, we typically work about 20 hours a week in the school, and then you try and find extra activities. So at the beginning, when I didn't really know the language that well, it was a little difficult to try and find a balance because I felt like I had a lot of extra free time.
Yeah, so we only generally work about 20 hours a week in the schools. So that does leave you with a lot of extra free time, but at the same time you do end up meeting other people for coffee, things like that. That's really what a lot of Peace Corps is. So it does take up some of your time, but it does also leave a lot of time for hobbies and doing what you want to do outside of work.
Yeah, one of my Peace Corps goals was to read a book a week, and I've actually read 2 books a week. I've read over 160 books in service.
You'll have plenty of time to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
I would say for me being a TEFL volunteer, usually teaching with your, like, teachers aren't allowed to teach more than 20 hours a week, and a lot of people have different schedules, but usually, I have a lot of free time on my hand, and so in that sense, I do have a lot of free time for hobbies, and that's been very nice. However, one thing to keep in mind is, you might not always find the facilities for your hobbies. I don't know if you're really into Pilates or maybe kickboxing or something like that. It might be a little bit harder to find things like that, but for me, I love playing soccer, and so I've been able to keep up with that, as well as running, things like that. Reading, you certainly have a lot of time for that. And one important thing to mention is, especially because you have a lot of extra free time, maybe coming here and like seeing something that you might want to start as a new hobby is like a great and fun thing to do, whether it be knitting, cooking, etc. Yeah.
I've been able to read a lot more. Sometimes we have a lot of free time, but we have like so much time we have no time at all sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely kind of had to find the balance a few times, but once I got to that routine, everything kind of settled, I guess.
Yeah, I think it is a bit different for me because the host family I have lives on a farm, a small farm, and so as soon as I got to site, I was asking to help out with farm work and things like that because I thought it would help me better integrate and better prove that I was going to be like a real member of the household rather than just a guest who was paying them to live there. And I think that worked out well in that way. I think that it really helped my host family feel more comfortable with me faster. But I think it was difficult in the sense that I didn't make space for myself to have like time for myself. You know, I was always with my host family. And then once school started and my schedule changed a bit, I had to realize that I needed that time for myself to just be alone and focus on hobbies, focus on telling myself that I was going to read. I haven't gotten to actually reading yet, but it's a process. But I mean, there's definitely enough time to focus on whatever it is you're interested in, whatever hobbies you have. I think the much harder thing is putting yourself in the right mind space to take advantage of that time that you have.
What was the most difficult part about transitioning to life in Kosovo?
Life here is so social. So trying to like adjust to like my host family and my community being worried about me being alone all the time, which is more than like an hour for them. That was my most difficult part, was just trying to adjust to that. So
I think my most difficult, the alone time thing also, but the language part of it, because they really want to talk to you and I really want to talk to them, but you can't because you don't know their language and they don't know English very well. Well, in my case, they didn't. So it's really hard to communicate with them, but you learn the language, so it's okay.
For me, and this is kind of specific, I don't know, maybe you'll agree, Rowan, but I came straight from university. I graduated, and then 2 weeks later, I was here in Kosovo, which was great, but it was also a little bit overwhelming, not only kind of finishing out like one piece of my life, but also like saying goodbye to everyone, unpacking a whole room, repacking my suitcases to bring with me for 2 years. So it was really hard for me to not really have any downtime in between like ending that and then coming here. And I know everyone's different. I'm sure some of you will also be ending university relatively soon, or maybe you're ending a job. So I would say not being able to have the time to kind of like fully prepare to come in was a little bit difficult. But once you're here and once you're in pre-service training, being with so many other Peace Corps trainees that are going through similar things and being able to talk with them and kind of like lean on each other, that really helped me, as did my training host family. My host family during training was really, really amazing, so they helped me integrate quite a lot.
Someone asked, should I bring my coffee making kit? What do you guys think?
No, I think, like, unless you have a really particular way that you like coffee, that's maybe the thing that's in the greatest supply here, is coffee and people who want to drink coffee with you. So I brought some like instant Korean coffee packets with me, not knowing how big coffee was, and my host family tried it and said that they didn't like it, and now the package just kind of sit in our cupboard unused. So that was probably wasted space for me in my baggage.
Yeah, I mean, like, in my house, we drink Turkish coffee, and I was fine with it during training, but afterwards, I just really wanted a big cup of filtered coffee. So I actually was able to buy a French press here. It wasn't that expensive. I want to say it was under €5. And I pick up coffee every, like, month and a half, 2 months, because you can buy, like, a bag for, like, €4 or €5, and then that lasts you for quite a while. So that's kind of how I do my coffee. It's my French press. My family's like, oh, here's all your stuff. We're gonna keep with Turkish coffee. They kind of look at it like, what is this? But I just told them it's an American thing. So if that's like something that like you cannot live without your coffee, I would say yeah. But I mean, space is another thing. If you're deciding over like wool socks or a coffee making set, go with the wool socks.
Yeah. So glad you asked. We have for you a prop.
Nice Americano?
Yeah, nice Americano here. from a cafe not far away from the Peace Corps office.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that Kosovo has like a pretty strong coffee culture.
Mm-hmm.
They love coffee here, although it might be a little different. They are very famous for their macchiatos, which is a little different than the Starbucks macchiato. It is a shorter glass with espresso poured over with milk, and it's steamed milk. But yeah, no, the coffee here, I enjoy it quite a lot.
How big of a community are you serving in?
I'm in a really small community. There are maybe 200 people in my village, and everyone is a farmer or works in a city that's about 20 minutes away by car.
I'm a little bit different. My community, I want to say, is about like 2,000 people. My school, I know for sure, is like between 300 and 400 students. We do have like 2 shifts, a morning and an afternoon shift. So I live on one side of the village. The school's kind of in the middle. My counterpart lives on the other side. She's about a mile from me. So if that kind of, kind of stretches.
I'm serving in a small city. The municipality overall is about 10,000 people, I think, and fewer than that in the city itself. So it's not very big. It's like a big town, maybe.
I'm serving in one of the major cities, and I think it's about 36,000 people or so in my city. So it's a fair-sized town. My to walk the length of my city is like 5 kilometers, 8 kilometers.
I serve in a relatively large city for Kosovo. So I think there's about 60,000 people maybe, and it's not, I would say, like a city by American standards, but we have all the apartment buildings and everything like that.
I think I'm on a different side of the equation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little country bumpkin. I'm in a smaller community. Definitely, it's definitely more rural, a lot more agriculture in my sort of area.
So my first year, I was in a small mountain village. My school had maybe like 250 kids in it. So the village is maybe like 1,000, just above 1,000 people. And now I live in one of the major cities. I have no idea how big it is, but it's huge. There's a lot of people.
I live in a village. My school, I think, has between 300 and 400 kids, but the village is really spread out, so I actually don't know how big the village is because it's in the mountain, so houses go into the mountain and away from the mountain and all of that.
How do you feel service has changed you so far?
That's a great question.
So I am only about 6 months into my service, so take all of this with a big grain of salt. But one of the first things that I started to notice is that I'm getting a lot better at listening, partially because, Albanian is spoken all around me, and especially early on, it was very hard for me to communicate myself, like spend a lot of time talking. So instead, I have just spent a lot of time really listening and trying to take in what people are saying. And thankfully, it has made me a lot less just blah, 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 which I think is very good.
I would say that having a set routine, like I mentioned before, I wasn't really good at having a routine back in the US. I had things that I did every day, but keeping to it, and that's become really valuable, so I've been better at that. Also choosing my battles, what things I can try and change and what things, I need to leave the same, or when to speak up, when to have a teaching moment, whether that be about American culture or something that I feel passionate about, and when to just kind of sit back and let things happen. I've definitely learned the value of that for sure.
I would say for me, 2 things have that I've slowly become a little bit better at. I've become a little bit more patient. Sometimes you have a lot of expectations that aren't really founded so strongly in your own experience with the culture and the community and the things that you're working in, and so being patient and considerate of and considering your environment and stuff like that before you you get out to do the work that you really want to do. I think that's been something that you kind of have to learn or get get a little bit better at?
So since I'm close 5, I have been here a little bit longer, like a year. And for me, I have become a lot more flexible and a lot more patient because timing here is always off. They'll say it's like, we're gonna go for coffee at 5, it'll be forever later, or you know, they're like, oh, we're gonna go visit this person today, and then you're ready and you're waiting for 4 hours, and then eventually you'll go. So you just learn to be really flexible and just go with it, and when they tell you, hey, we're going for coffee now, and you have 2 minutes to get ready and look appropriate. So it's a struggle, but you know, you get it.
I would say for me personally, I've just become an overall more independent and confident person. There's been a lot of challenges that I've faced here that I would not have even been aware that I could face back in the US. So I think it's just taught me that there are a lot of obstacles that I can overcome, and I think I'm probably the better for it, I think.
The biggest one is patience. There's a lot of waiting for coffee when they say meet for coffee at 5 and then it's 6:30. So that's happened more than once. But you know, so a lot of patience. That's when I get a lot of that reading in is waiting for those meetings. So lots and lots of patience. Yeah.
I've also developed a whole lot of patience and how not to take myself seriously. So a lot of the times you are going to embarrass yourself, inevitable. Whether you realize it or not, you're embarrassing yourself half the time. And you really learn not to care when you do it. So I think that's my major thing is I just don't care anymore when I do something embarrassing because nobody remembers it 5 minutes from then. It's funny in the moment and that's it.
Having a set routine, like I mentioned before, I wasn't really good at having a routine back in the US. Like I had things that I did every day, but like keeping to it, and that's become really valuable, so I've been better at that.
My diet has changed since coming here. That's about me, I guess. But I think too, similar to what Alessandra was saying, just about learning what's worth worrying about really and what's worth being a battle. There were difficulties with my school in the beginning of the school year, and I spent quite a lot of time in early October worrying myself sick about those things, and then had to just realize that, you know, that wouldn't change anything, and things would work out how they would work out, and then they worked out fine. So it's just been, I think that service has given me a lot of strong real-world examples of maybe things that I already thought that I knew in my own head but wasn't really putting into practice and didn't actually believe.